Book 1, Chapter 1, Part 2. Our dinner arrived, so we paused for several minutes as the waiter poured more wine and to taste each other's food. When she reached across the table to take a bite of salmon from my plate, Charlene wrinkled her nose and giggled. I realized how easy it was to be with her. "Okay," I said. "What is this experience we're looking for? What is this first insight?" She hesitated, as though unsure how to begin. "This is hard to explain, but the priest put it this way. He said the first insight occurs when we become conscious of the coincidences in our lives." She leaned towards me. "Have you ever had a hunch or an intuition concerning something you wanted to do, some course you wanted to take in your life, and wondered how it might happen? And then, after you had half forgotten about it and focused on other things, you suddenly met someone, or read something, or went somewhere that led to the very opportunity you envisioned? Well, according to the priest, these coincidences are happening more and more frequently, and that, when they do, they strike us as beyond what would be expected by pure chance. They feel destined, as though our lives have been guided by some unexplained force. The experience induces a feeling of mystery and excitement, and as a result, we feel more alive. The priest told me that this is the experience we've glimpsed, and that we're now trying to manifest all the time. More people every day are convinced that this mysterious movement is real, and that it means something, that something else is going on beneath everyday life. This awareness is the first insight." She looked at me expectantly, but I didn't say anything. "Don't you see? The first insight is a reconsideration of the inherent mystery that surrounds our individual lives on this planet. We are experiencing these mysterious coincidences, and even though we don't understand them yet, we know they are real. We are sensing again, as in childhood, that there is another side of life that we have yet to discover, some other process operating behind the scenes." Charlene was leaning further towards me, gesturing with her hands as she spoke. "You're really into this, aren't you?" Her comment jolted me. She was right. There had been a period in my life when I had indeed experienced such coincidences, and had even tried to understand them psychologically. Somewhere along the line, my view had changed. I had begun to regard such perceptions as immature and unrealistic for some reason, and I had stopped even noticing. I looked directly at Charlene, then said defensively, "I was probably reading Eastern philosophy or Christian mysticism at the time. That's what you remember. Anyway, what you're calling the first insight has been written about many times, Charlene. What's different now? How is a perception of mysterious occurrences going to lead to a cultural transformation?" Charlene looked down at the table for an instant and then back at me. "Don't misunderstand. Certainly this consciousness has been experienced and described before. In fact, the priest made a point to say that the first insight wasn't new. He said individuals have been aware of these unexplained coincidences throughout history, that this has been the perception behind many great attempts at philosophy and religion. But the difference now lies in the numbers. According to the priest, the transformation is occurring now because the number of individuals having this awareness all at the same time." What did he mean exactly? "He told me the manuscript says the number of people who are conscious of such coincidences would begin to grow dramatically in the 6th decade of the 20th century. He said that this growth would continue until sometime near the beginning of the following century, when we would reach a specific level of such individuals, a level I think of as a critical mass. The manuscript predicts that once we reach this critical mass, the entire culture will begin to take these coincidental experiences seriously. We will wonder, en masse, what mysterious processes underlies human life on this planet. And it will be this question, asked at the same time by enough people, that will allow the other insights to come into consciousness. Because according to the manuscript, when a sufficient number of individuals seriously question what's going on in life, we will begin to find out. The other insights will be revealed, one after the other." She paused to take a bite of food. "And when we grasp the other insights, then the culture will shift?" "That's what the priest told me." I looked at her for a moment, contemplating the idea of a critical mass, then said, "You know, All this sounds awfully sophisticated for a manuscript written in 600 BC. I know. I raised the same question myself, but the priest assured me that the scholars who first translated the manuscript were absolutely convinced of its authenticity, mainly because it was written in Aramaic, the same language in which much of the Old Testament was written. Aramaic in South America? How did it get there in 600 BC? The priest didn't know. Does his church support the manuscript? No. He told me the clergy were bitterly trying to suppress the manuscript. That's why he couldn't tell me his name. Apparently talking about it at all was very dangerous for him. Did he say why most church officials were fighting against it? Yes, because it challenges the completeness of their religion. How? I don't know exactly. He didn't discuss it much, but apparently the other insights extend to some of the church's traditional ideas in a way that alarm the church elders, who think things are fine the way they are. I see. The priest did say that he doesn't think that the manuscript undermines any of the church's principles. If anything, it clarifies exactly what is meant by these spiritual truths. He felt strongly that the church leaders would see this fact if they would try to see life as a mystery again and then proceed through the other insights. Did he tell you how many insights there were? No, but he did mention the second insight. He told me it is more of a correct interpretation of recent history, one that further clarifies the transformation. Did he elaborate on that? No, he didn't have time. He said he had to leave to take care of some business. We agreed to meet back at his house that afternoon, but when I arrived, he wasn't there. I waited 3 hours and he still didn't show up. Finally, I had to leave to catch my flight home. You mean you weren't able to talk with him anymore? That's right. I never saw him again. And you never received any confirmation about the manuscript from the government? None. And how long ago did all this take place? About a month and a half. For several minutes we ate in silence. Finally, Charlene looked up and asked, "So, what do you think?" "I don't know," I said. Part of me remained skeptical of the idea that human beings could really change, but another part of me was amazed to think that a manuscript which spoke in these terms might actually exist. "Did he show you a copy or anything?" "No, all I have are my notes." Again we were silent. "You know, I had thought you would be really excited by these ideas." I looked at her. "I guess I need some proof that what the manuscript says is true." She smiled broadly again. "What?" "That's exactly what I said, too." "To who? The priest?" "Yeah." "What did he say?" "He said the experience is the evidence." "What did he mean by that?" "He meant that our experience validates what the manuscript says. When we truly reflect on how we feel inside, on how our lives are proceeding at this point in history, we can see that the ideas in the manuscript make sense, that they ring true. Does it make sense to you?" I thought for a moment. Does it make sense? Is everyone as restless as me? And if so, does our restlessness result from the simple insight, the simple awareness built up for 30 years, that there really is more to life than we know? More than we can experience? "I'm not sure. I guess I need some time to think about it," I finally said.